This is the Newsroom podcast. I'm Jason Collington, editor of the Tulsa World, and today I'm here with Daniel Shular. He is one of our new photojournalists who's joined the Tulsa World just recently. And in Sunday's Tulsa World, we had him kind of tell us what's kind of caught his eye in his months that he's been here so far. Daniel, thank you for joining us today. Tell me a little bit of where you grew up and how you got into photojournalism.
I'm originally from St. Louis. I spent most of my time in Missouri, in and around St. Louis. When I was younger, my parents moved me out to a small town called St. Clair, about an hour from St. Louis. And I didn't get into photojournalism until about 2014. I finished my undergraduate courses at University of Missouri St. Louis. I was living in Ferguson right before that. And in 2014, that's when Michael Brown was killed by Ferguson police officer. And that kind of got me started going out to news, taking pictures, trying to figure out how to, just get into journalism, just grabbing a camera and going out there and taking photos, not really knowing what I was doing. And then that eventually led me to a few years later to going to grad school and actually studying journalism at Mizzou in Columbia, Missouri.
So what was your undergrad degree in?
Oh, I got a Bachelor of Fine Art in photography. So it was art school courses.
Okay, so you had a camera, you knew how to use it, but going to a protest scene of a national news story happening in your backyard, that was kind of your first assignment, I would say.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was a self-guided assignment.
That's one hell of an assignment.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What did that experience? I mean, that was a national news story, kind of something where all eyes were on Ferguson there for a while. What did you come away with that? What did you find, or what did you see that you didn't know that was there?
One of the biggest things I kind of learned there was even just technical ability, because that was like a type of photography I had never even tried to attempt before, and I just kind of learned a lot of situational awareness, a lot of other just quick skills like writing a cut line. I had no idea what that was until I went there.
Right.
And then just learning how to cover things like that in a way that is not exploitative, and kind of taking sometimes just not taking a photo and just talking to people, or just kind of taking in what's happening, and then just learning how to make judgment calls in very stressful, high risk situations, and just kind of trying to figure out how to show stories that actually represent what's actually happening, and not just kind of like this bad thing's happening and these things are on fire, and just showing the community and the protesters and what everybody was trying to do, what they were trying to say, on top of all the other news that were happening at all the different scenes I would go to.
So before that assignment, what kind of photographer did you want to be? What did you want to end up doing with that fine arts background?
I was just taking I'm making very big prints with medium format film. I would do a lot of abandoned buildings. I did a lot of studio sort of work too. That's my idea was probably I was gonna do studio work and maybe weddings to make money, and then use my free time and my extra money to go do artsy stuff.
Okay.
Buy up a bunch of film, travel to interesting places where I could take artistic pictures of abandoned buildings, and just make interesting giant photos and sell them in a gallery and try to become a famous artist. I guess that was my goal.
So you've gone from one part of the spectrum, one extreme of the spectrum, really to the other extreme. What do you think about this photojournalism life? What do you think about it so far?
It's great. It is the dream job. It's it gets a little stressful sometimes, but like being on staff has been a little less stressful than being a freelancer, because I did that for a little while before and during grad school. But yeah, it's I can't complain.
Well, the assignment that we gave you is kind of what has caught your eye so far. I mean, as I've told in previous podcasts, when it comes to our photojournalists, you guys are the eyes of Tulsa. You are the ones who know this city in and out. You're out in it. You cannot do your work from behind a computer. You've got to be out into it, just like, because again, you're reporting just like a person who writes words does for us. You've got to do the reporting to be able to bring home the work. The story that we had in Sunday's Tulsa World, you kind of went around and took some photos. Let's go through a couple of those and you kind of things that you're like, wow, I didn't know that was a thing, or things that you were surprised by. What because again, you didn't know Tulsa at all, right? Have you ever been here before?
I came here as a freelancer to cover Donald Trump's campaign in 2020.
That's right. So Donald Trump's, he had a campaign stop in the middle of COVID here at the BOK Center, just a couple blocks from the Tulsa World here. What was your impression getting off the plane or driving into Tulsa when you first met Tulsa?
I knew like that wasn't a very representational image of Tulsa. Everything was boarded up. Everything was closed because of COVID and because everybody was preparing for the worst to happen. And I'd driven through Tulsa before, but never stopped in Tulsa. So I was like, I'll come back here someday to actually experience what the city's like. And I didn't know I'd come back here to move here, but that was the only sort of impression I had of the city before I came here.
Well, so what are some things? Go through some of the photographs you took for this assignment. We'll put a link to the story and the photos in the show notes. Tell me about a couple of things that kind of caught your eye when you've been through Tulsa now, because you've been here several months now.
Oh, okay. First, I guess the aviators arrow. Well, that was like super interesting to me. I had a friend in St. Louis who he went to TU and he was telling me like, you got to check this out. He actually sent me like coordinates for it. And so I put in my GPS and drove out there, took the drone up. And just like there, like Tulsa has so many like sort of things like that, like kind of like visually like not strange, visually cool things.
Right.
Like the murals around.
This is the big Tulsa with a big arrow that's there on Reservoir Hill. So when you're coming in through the airport, if you're on a certain flight coming in, you'll see that it'll tell you Tulsa straight ahead. That's something that you can see up from the air. Also, it seemed like you were interested in the coffee scene here. You're a coffee guy.
Yeah. I try to drink at least a couple coffees a day to keep me going. So I had CERT coffee before. I had a friend who had a coffee shop, and he used their coffee sometimes. But once I got here, I just started, asking around the newsroom. That's how people told me about Double Shot. And then actually the same friend who owned a coffee shop came down for a music festival, and he was like, you got to go to Notion Espresso. And I hadn't heard of it yet. And it was like in the basement of this building, and it's my new favorite coffee shop. So I've been going there a lot. It's also very quiet. So I don't want to blow up the spot, but I like going there. It's an easy place to edit my photos and sip coffee.
Yeah, exactly. You also found Turkey Mountain, being a nature guy. What did you think of that compared to other places you've lived?
I think it's a really cool thing to have here. There's it's kind of wild that like you're in the city on one side of the river, and then like you're in like an actual forest in the other. Lots of trails. You can spend a lot of time there. I probably haven't explored half of the park yet. With the new staircase, I went there to cover that opening. That's like a cool thing to add. It's like a lot of different variety of things to do there too. A lot of mountain biking and stuff. I don't have a mountain bike yet, but eventually I'll probably get one and start riding out there.
Absolutely. It's well liked. One of the other things that you kind of had an interesting assignment. Talk about the concert that you went to where things got a little crazy.
Oh yeah, that was Act Like You Know festival. I used to go to hardcore shows when I was in high school and college, and I still try to if they happen. But I had a few friends that were playing it from St. Louis, well from like all over the country, but a large group from St. Louis, and I kind of just pitched the idea of going, taking photos of it. It's not something that traditionally goes into a newspaper, that sort of scene. So I just grabbed my cameras, put on wide angle lenses, got a couple flashes, and just kind of put myself in, not really on the stage, but just in the crowd, where I would normally be, just kind of like a first person's perspective of what was going on. And it was really fun. It was crazy, but
I was gonna say a little I wouldn't say violent, but I would say a little confrontational.
just controlled chaos.
Uh, you've been living here now and working. What are some things that you want to explore more now that you kind of got a taste of what Tulsa is? You've gone on dozens and dozens of photo assignments for the Tulsa World. What are some things that you're kind of putting in the back of your mind, like, okay, I want to go back here. I want to spend a little bit more time here. What places have do you have on your to-do list?
Right now I'm trying to get some hiking and backpacking in. So I've been told I need to go down to the Wichita Mountains.
Yep.
And like southern Oklahoma just has a lot of trails. Like I'm just trying to compile a list on my All Trails account of where I need to go.
Love it.
And
Love it.
besides that, I'm trying to try out every single like vegan restaurant in town. So I've got a list. I've been to most of them downtown. I need to just get everyone else. I think there's other restaurants too that have really good vegan food that aren't just vegan. So we're trying to go to all of them. Maybe take some photos.
We'll talk about being a vegan for a second. What made you start that way?
It was like a health thing at first, and then I moved in with all my roommates were vegan, like strict vegan, and they made me watch a lot of documentaries, and
Right.
I felt bad, and then I was kind of like, well, one of the only things I can do to help the environment is kind of stop eating meat, and I didn't really eat dairy anyway, so that was an easier part for me to drop. So that's just kind of all those things just kind of rolled together. So. And now it's so much easier to do it than it's been in the past.
Oh, sure. And were you an unhealthy person, or did you just need to just eat better?
Oh yeah, I was a very unhealthy person. I started being eating healthy before I was a vegan, but I used to weigh like 350 pounds. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So yeah, that was like, yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay.
That was also like I knew I had to get healthy to be a photojournalist. So like that kind of put me in gear to do that too. So
yes, it is a very physical job. So
yes,
I'm glad you made that transition and identified that early. You guys are walking a ton, driving a ton, standing up for a long time. A lot of wait and see situations. Wow. So as I said, I didn't know that part of your history. So you kind of you're not 350 pounds anymore, obviously.
no,
And vegan was part of that journey.
yes. It was more towards the end of it, but it was still it's still a big part of it.
Well,
it's a lot easier to restrict yourself from eating bad things whenever like all the restaurants that are around you, all the bad food is like stuff you can't eat. So
right, that is true. Hey, when you look back now, again, you've just kind of started your career. You're also a drone pilot. Some of the photos that you had in your series we're taking with drone. Talk a little bit about how drone photography is how it's changed photojournalism and what kind of tool has it given you?
With the drone, it makes a lot of some assignments that I might find it hard to, get a lot of extra photos out of, like interesting. Like we do a lot of photos for, kind of like business stories where we're sometimes the only photo there is to get the outside of a building. Well, if I can fly my drone, I can get like these really dynamic photos that look like, I'm flying in a helicopter over and like hanging out, taking a photo. And just in regular assignments too, just like finding features, like whatever, we're looking for something that has to do with the weather. And the weather is actually permitting us to go out and fly it. Like the pictures in the river parks that I have in the story were just like a nice warm day, people outside. I think that was the same day I found out I got COVID, but that's why I remember that day pretty well. But I just looking for people biking, just enjoying the outdoors, and then just getting photos of what the conditions are, and yeah, it's just another tool to use to kind of like pad out our visual side of stories.
Yeah. One of the things I argue is that, it doesn't matter what we write. If we don't do the photography right, people aren't going to read it. To finish up here, talk about why it is that you picked this. I mean, this wasn't your career you were thinking of when you were in college, but it's a career that kind of showed up in your backyard at Ferguson. Talk about why you think that it's important what you do.
Well, I always wanted to do something with photography, and then this kind of gave photography a purpose, like informing people, letting people know what's going on in their community. It's personally, it's fulfilling work to have people like look at my work. I'll have so many people look at my work, and to know that like, we might help out a small business by doing a story on them. We might let people know about some sort of law at the Capitol that might affect their lives, and it's just I just got into it because it's personally fulfilling, and I feel like it's an important sort of job that is kind of fundamental to our kind of, I don't want to say our democracy functioning, but it helps like people know what is going on in the government, in daily life, and I mean it's a pairing of words and photos, but I feel like both sides attract in the most people to let people know what's happening.
I agree. Well, you do very, very important work, and you've been great since you got here. You kind of, as I said, had a great experience there in St. Louis, came in here, and you've been awesome for us. I really appreciate all the work you're doing for us. And you joined a great group of staff photographers here at the Tulsa World, a long tradition of great photography. Really appreciate the assignment being done. We appreciate all the other assignments you're doing for us, Daniel. We'll wrap it up here for today on the Newsroom podcast, available on Apple, Spotify, Google as well, as we continue to tell the stories behind the stories here at the Tulsa World. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.